Here we are with our revamped and revitalized look on how to play each of the elements. This is going to cover the Glacier Nation, a highly scrutinized element because it creates tiles that only they can enter, blizzard tiles. No one else can touch them. This does bring about the need for other elemental counters such as fire and magma and poison that are able to disrupt those blizzard tiles, but outside of that, if they're squaring off against elements that have no capability of melting that snow away, well then the enemy is going to have a very difficult time of thwarting your efforts. The Glacier Nation is very, very powerful at building strongholds and capitalizing on those very crucial star tiles, but on the short side, if you've got a short side matchup that can't melt the snow, well, they're in for a bad time. Let's take a dive at their abilities and how they approach the board. Taking a closer look at the Glacier Nation's abilities and moveset, there's a pretty standard build that we're rocking with here. Because Glacier doesn't have that many options and abilities just yet, there's a couple of variations to it, but all in all, they're going to play around their strongest asset, which is the ability to create these blizzard tiles. And the benefit of this is it has the same food production of lakes and fields. The only caveat to that is you can't put resource buildings on it, but you are the only units that can enter this tile, which means opponents can't attack it either. And so this has massive short side implications. If you can imagine your capital is here, and we can just hard aggress upon the short side, if this is a nation that has no capability of melting blizzards, then by turn 1 or turn 2, you could be a constant satellite 2 tiles away from their capital that they always have to worry about when you're going to actually strike. Of course, fire, magma, poison, these are matchups that we don't really want to put our eggs into this basket because they're typically going to be able to deflect this early aggression. And so, what we are going to typically take are our 3 central blizzard abilities. Our tier 1 is going to convert 1 owned tile into a blizzard. Our tier 2 is going to convert 2 owned tiles into blizzards. And then our tier 3 is any tile purchased or taken via combat by our general can become a blizzard. The other caveat to these blizzards is that there can't be 3 in a row on a board. So we can't do something like this. And the main reason for this is so that you can't just close off your capital. That's the main reason for it. But we think of other applications of this. We can blizzard star tiles so that they still remain star tiles. And if we don't have many counter matchups on the board, well then this is a win condition that no one can take from us. But more importantly is we can situate choke points on our opponents. And so now, unless they melt blizzards, the only way for them to attack us is to come down this straight line path. And there's other abilities to synergize with this. And so you can sort of turtle up and play for the late game because we have other applications and other strengths to our moveset as well. But we're almost always going to take all 3 of these abilities, and I would say that's going to be the case until we actually get more choices at our disposal. Our other tier 1s, one cool aspect about their large card is that the iceberg card doesn't actually count. And that's because the iceberg is not truly a serious card. The iceberg is kind of a boat that maneuvers around the outside of the map. And I've only seen a few people really try to make it work, but it's not that good at actually finishing off an opponent. However, if you were to position it outside of a boss and a blizzard tile, it's really protected. And then tier 3, you can actually move it 3 tiles and attack, which is a powerful move. It would just take a while to get there. So the iceberg doesn't actually count, so it is always a part of your kit. However, not going to see that much use. The other main tier 1 that you're going to take in almost every single circumstance is Blubber Rations. Blubber Rations is a start of the game discount on your soldiers. So you are a pretty aggressive nation, although you don't have offensive dice roll. You actually have defensive dice roll, which arguably in a lot of cases can be better because you take an opponent's land and then it's harder for them to take it back from you based on how many blizzards that you have. On top of that, the first tile you purchase, no matter what, is half price on turn 1. So if you've got a rainforest next to your capital, Glacier is a great pick for it because you're going to be able to snag it for 3-3. Especially if you're in the 10-10 turn position, Glacier is a great pick to go with. The other 2 tier 1s that you're looking at here that you're likely going to take are going to be between Frigid and Seal Hunting. Frigid is a great turtle card. It just stalls anyone that's next to your blizzards. The downside is if you're playing against counters of your blizzards, if they melt the blizzards, well then they're no longer adjacent to blizzards, therefore they can move. So Seal Hunting is a good all-around play. We do have to play it a little bit differently now, as it doesn't apply to what our most powerful card is that we're about to talk about here in a second, is our Polar Bear's ability. But Steel Hunting is still very powerful. We get discounted soldiers so we can get more of them, and with those more soldiers, we can get more food from it. And so really, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. It's very matchup dependent. Our other tier 2s that we're typically going to take are snowshoes, which is going to allow us to move through our blizzards without actually using our movement. So if we've got our blizzard on the short side, once again, we can actually put a barracks on this blizzard and on this field behind it, and we can attack through this blizzard in the same turn. So we can amass multiple armies from that. Very powerful effects, especially later in the game. Our other ability, which this is a card that has just recently been nerfed because of how ever-present it is, Polar Bears. It spawns 2 free armies on your blizzards that they will perish if the blizzard is taken out. The caveat to these Polar Bears is that they can only move within 2 tiles of this blizzard, and they cannot attack the turn that you play this. That is the new change to it. They used to be able to attack immediately. And so now what I think the standard use for it is going to be is to position for bosses. I think that's going to be the main play for it. But you also want to be able to move past your blizzard that you're putting the Polar Bears on in order to protect them from getting melted. So I do think this is still the standard tier 2 moveset for them. Very, very powerful once they hit tier 2. Then tier 3, your quest is a pretty simple one to manage because your abilities are to give you 3 blizzards out of the gate, with your passive in tier 3 able to get you a few more, and there's of course weather events, advantage cards, and boss tiles that can get you more blizzards. But your quest is simply to own 6 blizzards. It's a little bit harder than it seems right now, but because you can't put 3 in a row, 3 can't be touching at any point, it does make it a little more difficult in how you manage your land. The last thing that you're going to do is your offensive move. Winter Storm on the move. You are going to chuck a blizzard at an opponent 3 tiles away, and it will kill everything on it. Every unit, every structure. So imagine if we position on the short side here, and we've got this strong defense that I could never swing over in a million years. 1, 2, 3. It becomes a blizzard. I could attack here, but also because of our snowshoes passive, we would then be able to execute a second attack through that blizzard and finish them off at their capital. That is a standard finish for a blizzard player. And so these are the main abilities and setup that you're looking for. Just watch out for those fire, magma, and poison counters, and Glacier is almost always a really, really solid pick.